Well, it's a story millions of Americans can relate to these days, especially the struggle with debt and how it impacts the family, particularly the kids. You know, oftentimes children can sense that something's different or something's wrong in the household, but they don't know exactly what it is because the parents don't take the time to talk to them about the day debt moved in. But Jason Simon says they should talk to them about this. He's written a book for parents to read to their children or for older children to read to themselves. It's called The Day Debt Moved In, and he joins me this morning as part of our book author series. Jason, good morning to you.
Good morning.
So where did you come up with the title of the book, The Day Debt Moved In?
Well, as I was writing the book, I felt as though it was appropriate based on everything that's going on with families these days and how they're handling credit and debt and how it impacts their family. So that's really how I came up with the title itself.
Well, and a lot of us have been in situations where, you know, it's become a financial strain. So, okay, so let's say debt has moved in, okay? It's eating breakfast, it's occupying the spare bedroom,
Right.
It has become kind of like that uninvited house guest using your electricity. How do we deal with it? How do we get through it?
First thing is to face it and talk about it as a family. Use a discussion so that the kids understand what's going on. Parents can deal with it a little bit better. They don't have to hide from it anymore. It's something that millions of families are dealing with, so it's time to get it out on the table and, you know, find a topic that can be discussed and hopefully move on.
But in terms of getting it out on the table, I got to tell you, I don't know that I'd feel comfortable talking to my kids about it. It's hard enough to talk to another grown-up about it because there's a sense of embarrassment and maybe even a sense of failure. But to bring kids into what seems like a really grown-up conversation, I would feel a little uncomfortable with that.
It is uncomfortable. However, kids know a lot more than we think. And so by hiding behind the topic and not giving them the respect of explaining to them what's going on, the fact that credit is a difficult thing to deal with these days, that people are facing debt, I think it's better to involve kids in the conversation than to avoid it and have them wonder what's going on and be stressed about what's happening in the house.
And speaking of that, there's some great illustrations in your book because one of the illustrations actually shows a daughter or a son, a brother and sister sitting on the bed and they're crying and, you know, they're hugging each other because they can obviously hear and know what's going on in the household. Then there's another picture of a kid kind of creeping down the stairs. You know how kids are now. They'll creep down and put the little ear and listen to everything that's going on. That's their way of finding out what's happening in the household. But you're saying that's not the right way to find out what's happening in the household.
They're going to interpret it the wrong way, and that's going to cause them to be concerned, and it creates anxiety. And you don't want kids to not really understand what's going on because then they're going to talk to their friends about it, possibly other families. You'd rather have that conversation at the kitchen table with your own family and get everybody to understand what's going on. And
in your industry as a financial expert, I'm sure that you've seen how this can just tear families apart. And by the way, it's not just folks who are trying to keep up with the Joneses who are affected, it's the Joneses themselves also who have been affected by this tremendous financial crisis that we're in, right?
That's right. It's affected many more people than it used to years ago. And actually, everybody's dealing with it to some degree. And it's credit cards and student loans. The people that we talk to every day, you're exactly right. They really feel as though it's starting to rip their lives apart. It affects, you know, families, but not only kids, also husbands and wives. They fight over money, and there's stress and anxiety that's added to the family unit. So again, by talking about it and getting it a little bit more on the table, I think it helps the whole family launch a discussion and have some ideas, you know, how they can handle it.
And I guess the upside too is it can actually bring families together because they're spending less money, so they're spending more time with each other.
Right. It used to be that the family spent more time at the table and had dinner together and talked about what happened at school. And if they're not out at a restaurant and they're not spending money on credit cards, then hopefully there's a little bit more family activity and they're spending time together.
Very quickly, the takeaway for people who are dealing with this right now.
Talk about it. Spend some time discussing it. Go over the issues. Make sure everybody in the family knows what's going on so they can work together. Allow the kids to be part of the solution.
Sounds good. So the bottom line is we want to just kick debt out of the house. We don't want debt to move in.
That's
we want you to leave quietly.
That's right.
All right, Jason Simons, thanks for the information.
Thank you.
And once again, the book is called The Day Debt Moved In. If you'd like more information on Jason or the book, please visit his website. It's thedaydebtmovedin.com.